Hi everyone. Before taking Experiencing Literature, I did not have the same tools or appreciation for reading that I do now. For instance, each week we had to read a story, and before this, I barely read on a weekly basis. I also did not realize how crucial it is to focus on literary devices when reading and how they can assist you in understanding the story in a whole new light. In addition, before this class, I never reread any type of story for a second time because I did not feel it would be beneficial. However, now that this class has promoted that idea, I have come to realize how it is so important, especially when looking at little details and for responding to the reading in general. Lastly, I never took notes while reading. To keep track of my thoughts for the reader response and critical analysis worksheets, however, I had to and realized how much this can help, and especially because I can be a forgetful person. The reader response theory was an enormous aid during this class. As I read, I would take notes in my book and then fill it out on a worksheet. It assisted my own understanding of the reading because it allows you to record your first thoughts and take down different questions that popped into your mind. For Hills Like White Elephants, in particular, I had difficulty understanding the text fully because while it was a very short story, there was an underlying theme that was not obvious at first glance. The document on the right displays the method of the reader response and how it helps to better understand the text. I was able to use the reader response theory to fully engage with this reading, especially because once I understood what was being talked about, the story made sense as a whole. For example, the male character says, It's really an awfully simple operation, Jig. The man said, "It's really not an operation at all." In this part, I was confused what the operation was that they were talking about. Later, the female character says, "And if I do it, will you be happy and things will be like they were and you'll love me?" This is where I began to interpret that they were talking about an abortion because it was all about the female character and she was clearly torn. In addition, the male character referred to the procedure as barely an operation. On the side, you could see all my notes from the reader response and how we had to ask ourselves questions and write our first thoughts that occurred to us, which really helps and aided in the reader process. Reading strategies that I applied to the reading for the cathedral. One that really helped me was rereading. Rereading helped me gain a better understanding for the wife. For example, once I reread the story, I figured out that she at one point wanted to end her life. The narrator said she went in, swallowed all the pills and capsules in the medicine chest, and washed them down with a bottle of gin. Then she got into a hot bath and passed out. But instead of dying, she got sick. She threw up. Even though she was not successful in this attempt, she clearly had some difficulties throughout her life, and this caused me to realize her appreciation for the blind man because he has the ability to be so content with himself even though he cannot see. It also shows that he was there for her during an extremely hard time in the wife's life, and the husband should realize this. Another example that I really liked to use throughout the cathedral was imagery. A quote that reveals imagery in the story was on page 253. It says, "We didn't say anything for some time. He was leaning forward with his head turned at me, his right ear, and then snapped open again. Now and then he puts his fingers into his beard and tugged, and he was thinking about something he was hearing on the television." This shows the mood of the story and can let the reader infer how each character was feeling in this moment. In addition, I was able to envision the cathedral when the husband was drawing it. It says, "I put the windows with arches, I drew flying buttresses, I hung great doors, I couldn't stop, the TV station went off the air, I put down the pen and closed and opened my fingers." The author did a really good job at using imagery to describe and point out crucial parts in this text especially. Digital tools that I've used throughout this semester. One thing that I really enjoyed was the Google Docs slide. This allowed us to share tweets with our classmates. Each of us followed a specific Twitter account and would share what we found interesting on a Google Docs slide. I like this because a lot of the accounts gave advice that could not only be applied to this class, but to life as well. In addition, it was fun to see what my other classmates had to say too. Another thing I really liked about this class was blogging or Flipgrids. The videos helped me form an opinion on each of the readings and assisted me in learning how to articulate it in a proper way. In addition, it helped my public speaking skills immensely as I had to work on not saying like and in between thoughts. I also liked looking through my classmates' videos and seeing where we had contrasting or similar opinions on the topic. Connection. The lottery told a story that can actually connect to society in some unique ways. The tradition being practiced in this story is very outdated and goes against most people's moral standards. Someone is killed as a result of being picked out of a lottery for no logical, or moral reason. However, it is still apparent in society because they believe that tradition is important and should be honored regardless of logical reasoning. This can relate to what is happening in Russia at this very moment. Because of extremely traditional views, gay people in their country are being killed and violently beaten for expressing their sexuality. This is morally wrong and very close-minded in our world with things changing at such a rapid pace. However, people in Russia have been conditioned to believe in such traditional views. This causes them to hold beliefs as extreme as a person not having a right to live if they are not straight. The latter can easily compare to Russia because each, as an individual and as society is advancing and contemporary views are now in place, the old tradition and thoughts need to retire because they are immoral and in both cases are costing people their lives. One challenge that I faced throughout the semester was while reading the text Antigone. This was difficult for me as a reader because the layout of the play was unfamiliar to me and I lacked information regarding the time period in which this play took place. In addition, in plays, you can only use direct characterization to know what they are thinking or feeling. This made it more challenging for me as a reader because I like to know what the characters are really feeling and thinking. Knowing what's going on inside a character's head makes me feel as though I can relate to them and know them in a more personal way. However, in Antigone, I was not able to do this, so it made it much harder. My most memorable experience in this class was recording our phones, how much we use our phones or computers after reading the Cathedral. A theme throughout the Cathedral was using substances or technology as a break from reality. Therefore, we took what we read in the text and applied it to our own lives. Each of us recorded phone time throughout the day. For me, I spent around 2/3 of my day on my phone or in front of my computer. Between talking to friends or family from home, doing schoolwork, and keeping up with social media, I spent a large amount of time in my day in front of some sort of technology. This was a great exercise for me because I realized that there are so many things I could be doing instead of using technology for useful purposes. Since this exercise, I have been able to use my energy towards more beneficial activities such as reading or spending time outside. This can help me develop as a critical reader because I can use my time in other ways that will benefit me as a student. In addition, reading for recreational purposes expands a person's knowledge and increases their understanding of more text in the future. This exercise was definitely a memorable experience because not only did it make me more aware of my technological habits, but it motivated me to spend time away from technology and towards more constructive activities. Throughout the semester, I had many realizations that helped me as a student and as a reader. One that particularly stood out to me was a tweet that was posted by John Winker. I followed this account the whole semester, and their tweets made me think thoroughly about life. This tweet made me think differently about the learning process as a whole for the fact that it points out that knowing all the answers is not necessarily the goal. I would call this my aha moment because it made me realize how crucial it is to ask questions and how this class especially has aided that process. There can be a negative connotation that comes along with asking questions and not knowing all the answers. People tend to fear looking unintelligent when asking a question. However, while knowing all the answers is obviously comforting, when you know all the answers, you do not learn and grow in that area of study. It is necessary to ask questions because it allows your knowledge and perspective to expand. Throughout this class, this tweet in particular was put into action through the reader response document. That exercise in particular forces you to ask questions that popped into your head while reading and allowed you to think hard in terms of that question and the reading as a whole. In addition, it assisted me in being creative in my answers and thought process. While the answers are obvious, we tend not to dwell on them or learn from them more. Once I realized how in order to be a good reader, you must ask questions and have curiosity, I came to realize how accurate this tweet was. This class has caused me to develop as a critical reader in more ways than one. After this class, I realized that I enjoy reading and hope to make it a recreational activity in my life. I also realized how crucial it is to use literary devices and how they can aid the reading process so much. I also learned that rereading the text can really be beneficial, and it is necessary sometimes to really get a full understanding of the text. Also, I realized that taking notes to keep track of my thoughts and questions throughout the reading can really help, and I hope to do this in the future. This class has been really beneficial, and I hope to take what I've learned in my new learned skills to really help me as a reader and as a student, and take what I've learned about life and help me in the future.